Sho Kimura successfully defended his WBO Flyweight Championship of the World against Toshiyuki Igarashi by a ninth round technical knockout in what was a very impressive performance. I was particularly impressed because I honestly didn't expect Kimura to be as dominant as he was over Igarashi. I thought that Igarashi, being a former champion, being a slightly more kind of technically schooled, I'd say technically well schooled, technically skilled boxer in the textbook sense of boxing as you normally see it when in terms of sharp punching, the timing, short straight punches and things of that nature. Kimura made it seem like that stuff is all just fun and games basically because he came forward, he pressured Igarashi constantly from the first round all the way up until it was eventually stopped, and just let his hands fly. He came at him in a way not unlike the way that Orlando Salido or Miguel Roman approach a fight, whereby putting heavy pressure, throwing a lot of punches at various angles, and quite a few of them mostly like very looping shots, not even very many straight punches right down the pipe, but quite a few hooking right hands, switching stances and going into the southpaw and then throwing the left cross as like a hooking cross, hooking uppercuts, just nasty, well leveraged power punches. Kimura is not necessarily a knockout puncher per se, with regards to just having innate power on every single shot, but he throws with such a force on every shot that he has a lot of power on them. He's really, you can really see the amount of like force and leverage that he's just thrown into every shot. He's trying to throw his punches to really do damage. He's really throwing his punches to hurt somebody. And Igarashi, even though I thought had a good probably first round and a half where he was able to catch Kimura just with his faster hands, nice sharp right hooks and left crosses, Kimura just kept pressing away and almost kind of physically intimidated Igarashi in large part throughout the fight, especially as the rounds kind of pressed on. With each passing round, it was like a rising tide from Kimura, just slowly but surely pressing forward, cutting off the ring, and just cutting Igarashi down to size. I mean, not to say that Igarashi was, a taller or longer fighter. He had a slight height and reach advantage, but Kimura just was completely cutting off the distance and making it so that Igarashi pretty much had no room to breathe in there. Igarashi would have probably done better to utilize more foot movement. He was utilizing quite a bit of head movement and like kind of torso movement, but with Kimura just kind of keeping up a consistent onslaught of streams of combination punching. Even if he would miss, he'd miss a wide shot and then he'd come right back with another shot to try and close the distance further. And even if that one missed, the third shot would be the next one that would land. It's just that kind of consistent effort being put forth and constantly looking to cut down the distance and just do damage with every shot, whether it missed or not. Is what led Kimura to victory. It's what led Kimura to victory over Zhou Shiming to even win this title in the first place. Although I think Zhou Shiming's superior hand speed and foot speed allowed him to be up on the cards before that fight was eventually stopped in the 11th round. Kimura here against Igarashi, against another Olympian, incidentally, in Igarashi, just completely just roughed up. Showed that boxing is definitely a physical sport. He was showing Igarashi, who tended to be more of that kind of cutesy kind of a technically correct style. Hey, boxing is a man's game. It's a physical sport. It's a sport where regardless of how aesthetically pleasing your technique may look, I'm coming in there to hurt you and I'm coming in there to beat you down. That's exactly what he did. Round after round. Plugging away shots to the body, shots to the head, hooking shots from over the top and from underneath and from around, shooting around Igarashi's kind of straight up guard. Just Kimura just battered him, man. And I think really that I'm so impressed from this performance because I didn't necessarily expect Kimura to be able to pull it off so vehemently. Just to pull it off in such a way where he was dominant in the fashion that he did. I thought that Kimura might have the edge in terms of being able to press Igarashi and outwork him, but I didn't expect him to completely lambast him and just beat him up, beat him down, and break him basically. He went in there and broke Igarashi. He broke him in such a way that now going forward, for his next defense, if he may potentially have some sort of a unification fight against the likes of Daigo Higa, the WBC champion, or potentially Kosei Tanaka, who recently, of course, just vacated his light flyweight WBO title and had previously held the strawweight WBO title. It would make sense that Kosei Tanaka would potentially be fighting against Kimura for the WBO flyweight title. I actually think that he has a much better chance than I originally did. Based off of the Zhou Shiming win, I was thinking that maybe he just kind of caught Zhou Shiming at the right time. He caught him at an age and in a matter of circumstances where Zhou, he was doing all the promotion and the managerial and all the kind of the clerical work basically of that normally like promoters and people behind the scenes do. All himself, and so it's like he wasn't even leaving room for himself to train, and he was training himself as well. He wasn't training under Freddie Roach or any notable trainer necessarily. He was just kind of like just training on his downtime when he wasn't trying to organize the event. But based off of this fight, I mean that was definitely no fluke. Kimura really did some serious damage to Igarashi. Was a much more emphatic win than what Akira Yagashi had originally done to him in order to get that title. And then, if Yagashi would eventually lose to Gonzalez, the WBC title in that circumstance, not the WBO. But, Kimura versus Kosei Tanaka, I think would be a fantastic fight. Kosei Tanaka has shown himself to be a bit of a prodigious talent, somebody that, he became a two-weight world champion in 8 fights. And may wind up becoming a 3-weight world champion in 11 fights, depending on how it goes versus Kimura, or if he maybe chooses to fight against Dani Nietes, or even goes for the WBA belt. I'm definitely not counting out Kimura now in that fight or in any other fight, even if he unifies against Nietes or Daigo Higa, who Higa looks like the clear, kind of man that might beat everybody in the weight class simply because of how destructive he is. He's won all of his fights by knockout and not for no reason. The guy has extremely heavy hands, puts on a lot of pressure, and is a brilliant combination puncher. But I mean, he's shown himself to be just a durable, strong, physical flyweight. And he definitely looks big in there, strong, powerful. Not necessarily like a huge explosive puncher, or anybody that's exceptionally quick of hand or foot, but somebody that's just he just grinds you down, beats you down, almost like a in a workman-like way, like a Glenn Johnson, like an Orlando Salido, like a Miguel Roman, like I mentioned earlier. So I mean, hey, if Tanaka fights against him, which I see as something that might be pretty likely. I think that's a fantastic fight. Like I said, Tanaka, very quick feet, very quick hands, very heavy-handed. But does his power carry up to flyweight as it has carried him along the way as a strawweight and a light flyweight? I mean, I think Kimura will definitely be somebody to prove that right or wrong, because I mean he took some big shots from Igarashi and never at any point looked hurt or stunned or anything. Igarashi was tagging Kimura in the middle of Kimura just making these lunging wide swings, and so he was in a position of balance where you think like, well, that's the perfect time to get hurt from a clean, sharp shot from Igarashi, but he wasn't at all. Kimura just pretty much ate it, kept coming forward and just beat the crap out of Igarashi. And so, him versus Kosei Tanaka, I think, is potential fight of the year material if it happens. And I really am hoping that it happens. I think that's a fantastic fight. It'd be an excellent true test of exactly where Kosei Tanaka stands in the next weight class up for him. And then otherwise, I mean, that might be another scalp for Kimura to take. I mean, another guy that's highly heralded, much more so than he's been. Kimura is a guy that lost his very first fight, his pro debut, by knockout, but since then has been on a hellacious winning streak, and it appears like that maybe that initial fight was just a fluke for him. He got caught cold and with cold feet in his first fight, but otherwise it has shown a very high degree of sturdiness, and has shown himself to be a bit of a physical force in the flyweight division as it stands thus far. So fantastic win for Kimura. Great performance from him. A really, really fun fight as well. Igarashi was trying to stand his ground for what it was worth, but it just he just was physically outgunned in there against Kimura. He just couldn't hurt Kimura and make it like a physical imposition on Kimura the same way that Kimura was able to do on him. Where Kimura was just kind of slowly beating him up and breaking him down round by round, and eventually just broke him completely and got the ref to stop the fight. So that's gonna do it for this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.